Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Today I'd like to answer the question, is it necessary that I need to have an altar in my magical space? So, to really answer that question, I'd like to get down to what my understanding of what an altar is and what it's used for. When you listen to videos about quantum physics, it often talks about the two different worlds. And that is what Bobby Hemmett would refer to as Universe A and Universe B. In the Kabbalah, it's often known as the world of the Tree of Life and also the Tree of the Clipoth. This is essentially talking about the world of the material and the world of consciousness, right? The Universe A, which would be the world of material, is the world that can be observed, right? The world that can be visually and experientially observed, right? Like any object that can be seen, felt, or measured in any way. The world of consciousness falls below the world of the quantum level. It's not measurable. It is really only perceived. That's why it's the world of consciousness. This would be likened to the astral realm, the astral plane, the world that is on top of the physical world. Like I would always say in my videos, you've got the three planes of existence basically. The physical plane, the astral plane, and then the mental plane. And everything begins at the top and it trickles downward from there, ending in the physical plane. Starting at Kether, ending in Malkuth. So what does this have to do with an altar? An altar is essentially an area, a place or space in your home or anywhere that you do your spiritual stuff. It is a center that is almost like a beacon to tap into a certain type of energy, right? If you have an altar that is, say, dedicated to your ancestors, it's a physical manifestation of somewhat of a beacon or some type of place that every time you look at, you subconsciously remember and venerate and observe your ancestors. And what that does is it makes an etheric double or an astral double. The altar also exists on the astral plane. The longer and the more intensely you work with it, it begins to solidify in Universe B, in the quantum realm, in the astral realm, in the spiritual realm. So since the ancestors who no longer have a physical body only have a spiritual body and a mental body, they can communicate to you and you can communicate to them through the use of this altar. So if you were to do meditations, if you were to do any magic or give libations or offerings at the altar, the essence of the offerings is easily transferred to the ancestors. Now, an altar isn't limited to ancestor worship or ancestor veneration. It can really be used for any type of work on the astral plane. An altar can be used for a lot of things. It can be used as your, I guess, what do they call that place that Superman goes to? His ice cave or the Bat Cave or whatever. Your little headquarters, right? Because my favorite book on the occult, Basic Magic, by Philip Cooper, talks about building the astral temple. And this is essentially where you go into meditation and you go into your own mental universe, your own Universe B, and you construct brick by brick your own ideal temple. And within that temple you have all of your magical weapons and all your stuff on the wall, the colors, everything that you need to set up your correspondences with the planets, with different spirits, etc., etc. And in the very center you have an altar that essentially represents access to the subconscious mind. And after a year of working with this, the book talks about how this essentially makes a very easy pathway, an easy connection to your subconscious mind. If you watch my last video, I mentioned the concept of the Myelin Sheath, and this is where essentially you practice something repetitively over and over and over again, and this builds pathways between the neurons. It strengthens the pathways between the neurons and it allows you to access certain information faster and quicker. Just like how athletes train or people who do martial arts train and practice their moves so that when they are engaged in combat, they're not thinking about their moves. They do it instinctively and intuitively. So that's the same thing with practicing your magic, with doing your meditations, with going into your astral temple. You're essentially programming yourself with all the correspondences, with all the colors, with all the numbers, with everything that you need, so that when you do get into a situation where you need to use your will, it happens and it manifests quickly because you've already done the groundwork. This is why spiritual practice is a day-to-day thing. It's a lifestyle. It's not, oh, I need to get a job, what demon do I use? It's not, oh, I'm trying to get laid tonight, what demon do I use? It's a lifestyle that you cultivate, right? You build up the different synapses in your universe beat so that when the time does arrive, you do know what to do. Or say if there's something specific that you want to manifest, you now know where to go and how to get it. So yeah, basically an altar is the connection between the physical plane and the spiritual plane, that place in between, right? Now also dealing with an altar, it doesn't have to be anything special. It doesn't have to be this fancy podium thing, right? It can be a coffee table, right? I've had several altars. In my home where I shot my previous videos, there were several altars in every room of the house, including the bathroom, right? So there's a lot of videos on YouTube that say, oh, you don't want to have an altar in your bedroom because you have sex in there. You can feed spirits the sexual energy generated and cultivated. You know, you can have an altar anywhere. There's no, you know what I'm saying? Like, they talk about how you don't want to have an ancestor altar in your bedroom because they don't want to see you having sex or masturbate or anything like that. This is stuff that they've done before when they were alive. So, I mean, let's just be real. They don't care about that. These are spirits. You know, an altar can be made out of anything. Anything. It can be your cell phone, if you want to keep it real, right? An altar is any place that you can use as a focal point for the energy. Now, what do you put on your altar is the next question that would naturally come up. Now, if you are actively reading about Wicca and witchcraft and the occult and things like that, you might have come across a book like this, which is Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft. And in certain books like this that talk about ceremonial magic and ceremonial Wicca and witchcraft, they say that you have to have your sword, you have to have your shield, and you have to have your chalice, your cup, and you also have to have your wand. Now, these are called the magical weapons, but they're not used for fighting. What they're actually used as are focal points, just like the altar. They're used as tools to create and receive change. All right, they are two pairs of masculine and feminine type of objects. Now, when I say masculine and feminine, what I'm referring to is two of those objects deal with projecting the will, and two of them deal with receiving. Okay, so let's kind of describe those briefly, because this is mainly about the altar. And just once again to reiterate, an altar can be made out of anything, and it's simply a focal point for a specific type of energy, whether that's an ancestor altar, a unicorn altar, a altar for, you know, tapping into the morphic grid to cause massive change on a worldly scale, whatever. But as far as the things you want to have on your altar, crystals are typically a common thing because crystals are able to be charged and store a certain type of energy. So you can have your altar set up and you can charge your crystals and put them there to harness and pull in different types of energy from the astral plane so that when you begin to do your ritual, you can just tap into that collective energy. Essentially, an altar can be used as like a reservoir. And that's why I had many different altars around my home for many different things, right? Really, any surface, every surface just about, is an altar. If you see skulls in my home, it's probably an altar that it's sitting on top of. Now, I was talking about the 4 magical weapons. So, essentially, they are symbols that represent 4 types of energies that are complementary and that are the creative energies that make up Universe A. Okay, these are the 4 elements. These are the 4 angels of the Hayoth that I have mentioned in my earlier videos from about a year and a half ago. Hayoth, H-A-Y-Y-O-T-H. You know, you may have heard them as Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel. The wand, the sword, the cup, the shield. Essentially, the two masculine items, we'll start with those. The wand, which also represents the angel Raphael, which also represents the element of air, is a masculine symbol, and this involves the will. It involves you being able to focus your consciousness into this object that is intended to direct your will into a certain place and to do a certain thing, right? It's a very phallic object, and it's meant to penetrate the universe A with your consciousness from universe B. It's meant to make change, right? That's why in all these movies, the wizards have their magical wand and the spells come out of the wand. It ejaculates out of the wand, right? The wand is meant to be your weapon of making things happen. Now, when we get, oh, no, my bad. That's, the wand is associated with the south. Oh my gosh, hold on. The wand is fire. Yeah, get that confused. The wand is fire, and that deals with Myelin, right? Don't be confused. That's that way, red. The wand, the sword is with Raphael. The sword faces east. The sword's color is yellow, and the sword is representative of slicing and cutting and separating. It's meant to represent using your conscious mind to disintegrate, right? Not like superpower style, but to analyze things and break things apart, right? To study, to research, and get down to the brass tacks, if you will, to really get down to the bottom of certain subjects, really pick them apart. That's what the sword is meant to do, to slice off the bullshit and cut it down to the necessary aspects. The wand, like I said, is about projecting your will, all right? In the West, the element is water, the color is blue, the archangel is Gabriel, and the chalice, the cup, is used not so much to collect things, but it's meant somewhat as a scrying surface, right? It's meant to hold liquid or water or blood or whatever, and that fluid surface represents the subconscious mind, and that's more of a receptive thing. You're meant to receive transmissions through that fluid, right? It represents the entirety of the universe, all of chaos. It represents the emotions, it represents the subconscious mind, all that stuff. But you're meant to peer into it and look deep into it and really see what's going on around you. It's a receptive tool. And finally, on this side, east, west, south, north. On the north, we're dealing with the element of earth, and the object is the shield, and its color is green, sometimes brown. But essentially, earth is the culmination of everything, right? Earth is what absorbs and what gathers and what coagulates, right? See, earth is on the opposite side of fire, right? The shield is on the opposite side of the wand. The wand is meant to project the will. So the shield over here is meant to receive everything. The will is the earth, the shield, the pentacle is what it's called, is meant to be the culmination of all your efforts. Because the earth is bountiful, the earth produces, the earth gives forth, and it brings out. So symbolically, you want to have those four elements on your altar, at least. And, again, it can be symbolic. It doesn't have to be a sword and a wand, right? I've used a pen for the sword. I've used a microphone for the wand. You see what I'm saying? As far as projecting the will. You can really use anything. The thing is, you don't necessarily want to just use what you see somebody else using. You want to use something that has a personal connection to you, right? Because all these things are simply symbols that have a connection to you. They're supposed to spark an idea. They're supposed to instantly make you think of something when you see them. So really, there are no rules that you have to do, but simply an understanding of how these things work. It's all symbolic, and all it's meant to do is to have an area, a specified area, for you to focus your energy and for you to tap into the subconscious mind, into universe B, into the quantum world, and to bring those particles that bounce in between both of those realms, to really capture them and put them to use here in the physical plane. Now, so this doesn't sound like so much craziness, do a little bit of research on quantum physics and quantum particles and the virtual universe versus the observable universe. We'll be getting a little bit more into that as the videos come out. But yeah, this was primarily just to answer the question, do I need an altar and what is it for? Do you need an altar? It helps. You don't need anything but your mind. And the capable magician doesn't really need anything at all but his thoughts. But to get to that point, you want to start doing rituals that have been given to you, rituals that you've researched, written by other people. You want to start doing things that are already laid out so you can learn the pattern, learn the framework. And eventually you get to the point where you can efficiently create your own spells, create your own entities, create your own ritual space, etc. ad nauseum. But yeah, this was a quick video about altars and the 4 magical weapons. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Keep looking out for those unicorns. And yeah, peace.